So, Bridgerton season 3 is out. Almost. I decided to defer my opinion on the season, but I want to throw my predictions into the mix. Here goes my thoughts on what I think will happen and what I wish would happen. Plotline 1, Francesca. Francesca seems like a new character for me. I really want to like Francesca. I like the actress. I love her subplot with Lord Kilmartin, but because she feels so, opaque to me, I'm having a little bit of a hard time developing an emotional connection to her character. I hope that over time, I'll like her more and more. Predictions. I haven't read the books, but I know that Francesca ends up with John Sterling, the Earl of Kilmartin, so I predict that obviously Lord Kilmartin and Francesca are going to get married by the end of the season. What I wish will happen. I do want Francesca to end up with Lord Kilmartin because I think they're great, but I hope that there's more of a delay. I hope that they wouldn't get married this season and they would have a longer courtship process. I know this would be a change from the books, but there's just something about the relationship that makes me want to see it more and see how it evolves. Plotline 2. Will and Alice Mondrich. Okay, so I know I said I wasn't going to insert my opinion, but I have to say this real quick. I feel like Will Mondrich is constantly being screwed over by the plot line. This feels like the third season that he is completely disconnected from the main story arc. I mean, at least in season 1, he had more of a connection, but this time around, why are they there? They just feel so disconnected. I feel bad for them because I want to root for Will and Alice, and I am rooting for them, but they're just not part of the main plot, and I just wish that they would be. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about predictions. I sadly don't even have any predictions for him. We left off the Mondriches with Will's desire to keep his club and Alice trying to adjust to her new life. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I can share what I wish would happen. I hope that Will continues to pursue his dream of running a club and that he eventually becomes so successful that he wouldn't have to depend on rank and title to be happy, that he would just leave the society and say, screw you guys, I want to work and make tons of money in the process. Plotline 3, Benedict. Benedict, I think, is facing the same situation as the Mondriches. Benedict is kind of aimless, and it's like he's been suspended in formaldehyde for the past 3 seasons. In season 1, he had a romance with Lady Delacroix, and nothing came of it. In season 2, he had a romance with an aspiring art student, and nothing came of it. And here we are again. He's having another rendezvous with a very beautiful and independent woman. Benedict really seems to have a type, the strong, independent woman. And I predict that nothing is going to come of it. I wish that Benedict would spot Sophie at the end of the season, so that we would get the beginning of the story by the end of season 3. There has been a rumor floating around that in December 2002, Shondaland sent out a casting call for a woman who is supposed to be in one episode of season 3, but who will become a lead in the next season. This information came from a Reddit post, and people suspect that the casting call was for Sophie. So it's possible that Sophie might appear at the end of the season, and I hope that's the case. Plotline 4, Eloise and Cressida, and Penelope, to an extent. I have to say, I'm happy that we get to see a different side of Cressida this season, and I hope she continues to evolve throughout the season. What I predict will happen is that Cressida will end up marrying Lord Dublin, and that she remains friends with Eloise. And I suspect that Pen and Eloise will reconcile in the very last episode of this season. What I wish would happen is that Cressida still marries Lord Dublin, but she chooses to travel with him. Cressida decides to go with him because she wants to get away from her family as much as possible, and they have that in common, where they don't want to be close to their families. So I hope that she's happy going abroad, going very far away with Lord Dublin. And I hope that Cressida and Eloise continue to write to each other while Cressida is abroad, so they continue their friendship. Plotline 5, the Featherington family. They are the MVPs of this season, in my opinion. I live for them. They're just knocking it out of the park. I can't wait to talk about them once we have the full season. But here are my predictions. We left off the show with both Philippa and Prudence pregnant. The Featheringtons need an heir to their estate. It is suspicious that both girls are pregnant at the same time, and it would be too simple if one of them had a boy, and it would be too simple if both of them had boys, because the firstborn would get the property. I imagine, as I assume most people do, that Philippa and Prudence would have girls, and Pen would end up giving birth to a boy, thus making her in charge of the Featherington estate. What I wish would happen. I hope that all the girls have girls. So the Featherington estate is put up for sale, but then Pen realizes that she has amassed crazy amounts of wealth because she's been hoarding money, and so she's the one who decides to buy the Featherington property with Colin, thus putting her in charge of the estate. Plotline 6, Violet and Lord Anderson, and Lady Danbury. We left off with Lord Anderson showing interest in Violet. I predict that Violet will end up with Lord Anderson. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's not the part that interests me. We know that there's tension between Lady Danbury and Lord Anderson, and that this tension is mostly coming from Lady Danbury. So I presume that it's because Lord Anderson has done something that has pissed Lady Danbury off. Lady Danbury has told Anderson that he has very rakish behavior, and Lord Anderson has told Violet that his first marriage wasn't a love match. My prediction is that Lord Anderson slept around early on in his marriage and Lady Danbury never forgave him for it. I think that over time he changed his behavior, but Lady Danbury never let go, and she's very protective of Violet, so she doesn't want Violet to get hurt. What I wish would happen. I hope that the real reason that Lady Danbury is mad at Lord Anderson is because when they were young, they killed somebody. Hear me out. So what if when they were teenagers, a lord or an earl wronged Lady Danbury in some way, and Lord Anderson was so incited by the incident that he decided to seek vengeance on the wrongdoer, so he started plotting his murder. Lord Anderson then roped in Lady Danbury and convinced her that this is the best way to go, even though she was very hesitant. Lord Anderson then carries out the plan, and Lady Danbury is still carrying that weight on her shoulders. Nobody knows, and I hope that at the end of the season, everything just blows up.
Past lives are dangerous places to revisit.
Plotline 7, Colin and Penelope. We left off with Colin asking Pen to marry him, in essence. I predict that the first episode back, episode 5, we will see a growing tension between Pen and Eloise, and Eloise feeling conflicted about telling Colin who Lady Whistledown really is. I don't think that Eloise would do it though. She wouldn't tell Colin. And in episode 8, Pen and Eloise will resolve their tension, and so will Pen and Colin. And I think that Pen will try to redeem herself by revealing her identity to the public. I also predict that the Queen is going to find out that Pen is Lady Whistledown, but instead of punishing her, I think that the Queen will take Pen under her wing. In essence, I think she's going to take the approach of if you can't beat them, join them. I think the Queen will see Pen as a strategic tool. What I wish would happen. Okay, so here's where things are going to get weird. I suspect that everyone's going to click the unsubscribe button, but okay, that's okay. I wish that in episode 5, the Queen finds out that Pen is Lady Whistledown. Something that I wish was talked about more is the fact that there's a teenager who's antagonizing the English monarchy, and she's succeeding. She's actually getting to the Queen, and Lady Whistledown doesn't hold back.
And the drawing room at Bridgerton House currently appears to be emptier than the muddled head of her dearest King George.
This feels like a major plot, and I wish that it was the major plot. So here's what I would wish would happen. The Queen discovers that Pen is Lady Whistledown. She's furious and she puts a bounty on her head. Pen then manages to flee to France. In France, Pen starts a new gossip column, and she quickly becomes very popular. She has a very sharp critique of both English and French societies, and this captivates the readers. And this also causes a stir in European courts. Meanwhile, the English monarchy is embarrassed by Penelope's continued influence. And then French officials, seeing the opportunity to undermine England, support Penelope's ventures, giving her more resources and protection. Then everything comes to a head. The Queen mobilizes a small army to capture Penelope, planning a covert operation in France. However, Pen has loyal supporters, and they inform her of the attack. Then there's a dramatic standoff where Penelope wants to storm the castle, so to speak. She has her dragons, she has her sword, she's ready to go. Then the Queen realizes that perhaps it's better to have Penelope on your side. So the Queen arranges a secret meeting with Pen, acknowledges her talents, and says, hey, come work for me. And Penelope's like, you know what? Yeah, okay, this sounds good. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you staying to the end. I know it got a little weird, but thank you so much.